word Nicaragua comes from Nicaragua, the name of an indigenous pre-Columbian tribe, and the Spanish word for water, agua. And indeed, Nicaragua is a place of water. If you look at a map, two huge bodies of water cover its mass, Lake Managua and Lake Nicaragua. Lake Managua is 40 miles long by 15 miles wide. Impressive enough, but Lake Nicaragua is the larger of the two, 99 miles in length and 45 miles across at its widest. It is the 19th largest lake in the world. Nicaragua is not only a land of water, but of volcanoes as well. Sometimes the two become one when a volcano implodes, forming a crater that fills with water and becomes a crystalline lake. The Apoyo Lagoon is about 3 miles wide and is surrounded by the heavily wooded sides of the crater. A little further away are the silhouettes of many active volcanoes. The whole landscape is majestic and dazzling. 19 volcanoes soar above the horizon in Nicaragua, many with clouds and steam clinging to their summits. Above the rooftops of Granada, Leon, Masaya, or Catarina, above the surface of the lake in Ciudad Sandino or San Carlos, these dramatic mountains adorn the skyline. Tourism has rebounded in Nicaragua, but is still light because of the country's reputation for violence. A savage civil war was fought here from 1961 to 1990. Since the peace treaty was signed, however, the country has become safe. So safe, in fact, that the Boston Globe, in an article entitled Where to Go in 2015, recommended Nicaragua as a superb tourist destination.
Mamá, yo quiero saber de dónde son los cantantes, que los encuentro galantes y los quiero conocer, con sus trovas fascinantes que me las quiero aprender. ¿De dónde serán? ¿Serán de La Habana? ¿Serán de Santiago, tierra soberana?
But Nicaragua wasn't always secure and stable. In fact, this country has had a long, bloody history, from the time the Spanish first appeared upon its shores until the Civil War ended in 1990. Nature, both human and geographic, have conspired against this graceful, long-suffering country. In Central and South America, the indigenous people remember the Spanish invasion with terror. The conquistadors were brutal, cruel, merciless people who wiped out and enslaved whole towns and tribes of native peoples. There are a number of legends that survive in the Nicaraguan psyche and in their folk literature that illustrate the fear and loathing that the native people still harbor for those black-hearted intruders. One such tale is called La Caratanagua, a legend that haunts the dreams of Nicaraguans young and old. On a very, very dark, empty street, at 1 a.m., all is silence. The moon is shaded by dark clouds, and ghost-like branches cast eerie shadows on the motionless streets. Suddenly that stillness is shattered by the hollow clattering of hooves and the clanging of chains. The noise is deafening and terrifying. Breathlessly, the villagers, those who are brave enough, look out on the street to see what is causing this uproar. There is a cart being pulled by two skeletal oxen and led onward by repulsive figures whose cadaverous faces are draped in black hoods. The villagers wrap their blankets tightly around themselves and their children, but there is no avoiding fate. The evil ones are here. They will take everyone in their path. This legend is based on a terrible truth: the cruelty of the Spanish invaders, who came in caravans to rape, torture, kill, and enslave the native peoples. They would surprise the village in the middle of the night and then create mayhem. They would kidnap and enslave those that they didn't kill. Those carted away were never heard from again. The terror of such events left a permanent mark on the soul of Nicaragua. From 1525 to 1540, 200,000 were shipped to the gold mines of Peru. Most died there from the harsh conditions imposed in slavery. Certainly, none returned. The Spanish came to Nicaragua in the 16th century. Francisco Hernandez de Cordoba was appointed to explore the country. He founded the cities of Leon and Granada in 1524. His boss was Pedrarius de Villa, a vile and barbaric man, even for the low standards of the times. When Cordoba asked de Villa to appoint him governor of the territory, de Villa turned on him, arrested him, and had Cordoba beheaded in the main square of Leon, the town that Cordoba himself had founded. His head was displayed there for many days. The purpose of this barbarity was to discourage anyone else from questioning de Villa's authority. Ironically, de Villa himself died 4 years later of natural causes. The town of Leon suffered from regular earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. When Momotombo erupted in 1610, after having previously done so in 1594, it was the last straw for the inhabitants. They were tired of the disruptions and destruction of the earthquakes on volcanoes, and many people concluded that the Pope had cursed the city because de Villa's grandson had murdered a bishop there. They decided to move the whole city to another location, 18 miles to the west. Leon Viejo, Old Leon, as it has become known, was soon forgotten as the new city of Leon thrived. Layers of volcanic ash, dirt, and lake sediment covered it until no one really knew where it was. It was rediscovered in 1967, along with the headless body of Francisco Hernandez de Cordoba, with Pedrarius de Villa lying close by in the main cathedral. Despite the discovery of Viejo Leon, serious excavation could not begin because of the general violence in the country. Once peace was established in 1990, excavation proceeded and led to Viejo Leon's becoming a United Nations World Heritage Site in the year 2000.
Mamá, yo quiero saber de dónde son los cantantes, que los encuentro galantes y los quiero conocer, con sus trovas fascinantes que me las quiero aprender. ¿De dónde serán?
In 1854, there was a civil war raging in Nicaragua between the liberals of Leon and the conservatives of Granada. The conservatives invited William Walker, an American mercenary and adventurer who had led a failed expedition into Mexico, to help them win the battle. Walker arrived in Leon with 60 men, including his general, Charles Frederick Henningsen. They fought and captured Grenada. Walker soon staged a coup d'etat and became the virtual military dictator of Nicaragua. Having succeeded in becoming the head of state, Walker badly overreached. He irritated the people of Nicaragua by his attempts to reinstate slavery and to make English the national language. He threatened the other Central American countries, and he seized the business property of the powerful tycoon Cornelius Vanderbilt. Cornelius Vanderbilt, with his accessory trading company, had established an easy and popular means of crossing Nicaragua by steamship and stagecoach. This route went from the Caribbean to the Pacific Ocean and allowed travelers to go from the east coast of the U.S. to California without rounding South America. Walker and his cronies took this company over. The other Central American countries, including El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, and Costa Rica, were frightened by Walker's viciousness and ostensible plans to take over their countries. Supported financially by the enraged Vanderbilt and his sizable fortune, they attacked Walker's army in Grenada with 4,000 multinational troops. Before Walker and his general Henningsen escaped from the invading army, however, they burned down Grenada and left a sign, "Aquí fue Grenada." Here was Grenada. William Walker met an appropriate end when he was executed in Honduras in 1858. The political history of Nicaragua is one of meddling and interventions by the U.S., coups d'etats, military dictatorships, corruption, greed, and cynicism. Jose Santos Zelaya was the president of Nicaragua from 1893 to 1909, but he incurred the wrath of the United States government. Building a canal somewhere in Central America was a wildly popular idea in trading circles all over the world. There were two possible sites for a canal, Panama and Nicaragua. Of course, huge financial interests backed the choice of both sites. In 1902, the U.S. Congress voted to build the canal in Panama. Jose Santos Zelaya, the president of Nicaragua, was very disappointed at this decision and made overtures to Germany and Japan to build a competitive canal through Nicaragua. This antagonized the United States, and it began to look for a pretext to overthrow Zelaya. The U.S. invaded Nicaragua ostensibly to protect U.S. citizens. As a result, in 1909, Zelaya had to flee to Mexico. A series of unstable, mostly conservative, very pro-American governments succeeded his downfall, allowing the United States to wield great power over Nicaragua's affairs. By 1927, many Nicaraguans were tired of autocratic rule, supported and controlled by the United States government. Among the discontented was the colorful Augusto Nicolas Sandino, who from 1927 to his death in 1936 opposed the interference of the U.S. in Nicaraguan affairs. He and his followers took to the hills and fought the good fight against the U.S. military intervention for years, eluding and escaping the much greater forces of the Nicaraguan military and the U.S. Marines. When the Great Depression hit, the U.S. no longer had funds to control and occupy Nicaragua and consequently withdrew. Sandino, a man pictured wearing a huge cowboy hat, had become a hero, not only in Nicaragua, but in all of South America. Sandino loved foiling his enemies. Fidel Castro, a great admirer of Sandino, was inspired by his guerrilla tactics as he plotted the Cuban Revolution.
Mamá, yo quiero saber de dónde son los cantantes, que los encuentro galantes y los quiero conocer, con sus trovas fascinantes que me las quiero aprender. ¿De dónde serán? Ay, mamá. ¿Serán de La Habana? ¿Serán de Santiago? Tierra soberana. Son de la loma y cantan en llano, ya verás cómo no, son de la loma, cantan en llano.
When the U.S. Marines finally withdrew from Nicaragua in 1933, they left the National Guard in the hands of Anastasio Somoza, a man of bottomless greed and endless ambition. Peace talks between the followers of Sandino and the government were in progress. Sandino had come to one of the meetings with the understanding that he had safe passage. The U.S. ambassador and Somoza conspired together to eliminate this thorn in their side. On the way home from the meeting, Sandino and his party were kidnapped and massacred. The followers of Sandino were then purged en masse from all branches of government and the military. Somoza waited for 2 years after the assassination to stage his coup d'etat. He and his family ruled Nicaragua relentlessly and viciously for the next 44 years, amassing a huge fortune in the process. But there was some justice accorded along the way. In 1956, the poet Rigoberto Lopez Perez gave his life to assassinate Somoza. Anastasio Somoza was succeeded by his older son, Luis Somoza de Valle, who ruled from 1956 until he died of a heart attack at the age of 44 in 1967. His younger brother, Anastasio Somoza de Valle, then took over until 1979, when the Sandinistas won the revolution. He was assassinated in Paraguay in 1980 at the age of 54 by a team of Sandinistas. Natural disasters have played a big part in Nicaragua's political history. Surrounded by volcanoes and fault lines, Nicaragua endures the worst and the best that nature offers. Earthquake after earthquake, one volcanic eruption after another, hurricane after hurricane. One of the most catastrophic earthquakes was on December 23, 1972. This quake destroyed the whole center of Managua, including its hospitals and fire stations. 6,000 people were killed, 20,000 were injured, and 250,000 lost their homes. The injured, unconscious, and bleeding lay out in the streets with no available medical care. Fierce fires raged out of control, with no fire equipment to contain them. The electric and water lines were damaged beyond repair. Food shortages and diseases began to plague the city. People were desperate, searching for loved ones beneath the rubble, scratching for food or water, and blindly looting all the mangled stores and shops. The international community started coming to the aid of Nicaragua. Money and food supplies were brought in, but the people in need did not receive these goods. Somoza and his followers, in their greed, stockpiled them for their own use and for future sale. People were enraged by these loathsome acts of corruption. Not only the poor suffered, The middle class and even some rich people were in need of services at this extraordinary time. Everyone was aware of the depravity of the Somoza family. They knew that in 1978, Somoza had orchestrated the assassination of the opposition leader Pedro Chamorro. They knew that he owned everything in Nicaragua: 51 cattle ranches, 46 coffee plantations, the largest slaughterhouse, 6 meatpacking companies in Miami, and that many of the pesticides imported by the government were banned in other countries because they poisoned the breast milk of nursing mothers. But stealing supplies designed for people in desperate need went further than people could tolerate. Now the Nicaraguan Revolution began in earnest.
Mamá, yo quiero saber de dónde son los cantantes, que los encuentro galantes y los quiero conocer, con sus trovas fascinantes que me las quiero aprender. ¿De dónde serán? Serán de La Habana, serán de Santiago, tierra soberana.
The revolution was long and bloody. It really lasted until 1990. In 1979, the Sandinistas, as they were called after the revolutionary hero Augusto Sandino, took power. The new government tried to help the poor. They gave land away. They ran a countrywide literacy campaign to upgrade the skills of their people. The U.S. government was threatened by the left-wing nature of the Sandinistas' policies. When Ronald Reagan, a raging anti-communist, came to power in 1981, he immediately started supporting a force made up primarily of people who had been part of Somoza's regime. These Contras, as they were called, would make forays into Nicaragua from neighboring countries. They committed thousands of human rights abuses, kidnapping, murdering, and torturing civilians, destroying health clinics, burning houses, targeting health workers and small farmers, and appropriating personal property. Tens of thousands of Nicaraguans were killed in these actions. The Contras so destabilized the government that over half the national income went into defense. The Revolutionary Political Party, or FSLN, had come into power hoping to make reforms, but the continued hostilities prevented them from doing so. To further destabilize the country, the CIA mined the harbors of Corinto, Puerto Sandino, and El Bluff. In response, the Sandinistas brought suit in the United Nations against the United States and won. In 1985, the U.S. Congress demanded that the Reagan administration stop supporting the Contras' effort to overturn the government of Nicaragua. Congress stopped all funding devoted to this effort. Without the authority of the Congress, the Reagan administration had found secret ways of funding the Contras through third parties. And these efforts ended up as one of the biggest scandals in American history, the Iran-Contra affair. The Reagan administration secretly sold weapons to Iran, got the money, and diverted much of it to the Contras. Once this deception was uncovered, all funding stopped and a path to peace became possible. Nicaraguans were exhausted by constant war. The Contras had no money to continue hostilities, so both sides agreed to sign a peace treaty. The horrible intrusions of the Contras stopped, and peace began to reign in this war-torn, shattered nation. The question is, what does Nicaragua's future hold after a history of almost unremitting violence? Outwardly, Nicaragua is safe and peaceful today. It is a country in which nature has fully bequeathed its magic. There are so many breathtaking landscapes, so many awe-inspiring vistas, so many places that the gods have endowed with dazzling beauty. First, there are the lakes and islands, inhabited by soaring volcanoes. On Lake Nicaragua, there are over 350 islands. Within a short boat ride, anyone can find a solitary place on the sand and spend the day in contemplation, gazing at the attending birds or the passing boats with their shining white sails. The largest island is Ometepe, a barbell-shaped island composed of two volcanoes connected by a narrow strip of land. It is a good weekend hideaway, but the narrow band bordering the vast lake is an inspiring place to lie in a hammock, watch the swirling clouds and the shimmering water, and wait until the cows or horses meander to the beach for a daily drink. Shockingly white egrets hover on the shore, usually where the sand and the sea meet. They eye the waves as they wait for their meals to approach. Before long, their patience pays off as they swoop in and capture their dinner. Then there are the cities. Granada and Leon are charming colonial cities full of splendor. The cathedrals of Leon and Granada, the cobbled streets, the majestic volcanoes rising above the skylines, the lovely lakefronts, all is peace. Burning after burning did not stop these stately cities from rising out of their ashes and becoming places of beauty today. Here is peace. Here is tranquility. This is Nicaragua today, so different from its violent past. This is the Nicaragua that must build on its current successes. There is an election coming in which Daniel Ortega, an original Sandinista and the current president, is the favored candidate. There are rumors of corruption in his regime. We hope that Nicaragua continues on a path towards peace and democracy, that stability and harmony usher in the economic conditions that benefit all of the people, that nature, so bounteous in its gifts, refrains from sending any new catastrophes, and that the future of Nicaragua is as tranquil as its hummingbirds that quietly sip the nectars without damaging the flowers.
Mamá, yo quiero saber de dónde son los cantantes, que los encuentro galantes y los quiero conocer.